Wake up, Buy Here Pay Here people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of Joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhodes on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It is, in fact, a beautiful day here in Western Oklahoma, and hope you guys are being able to get your new year fired off well. It's just me today. Michelle is visiting family back in Utah, and so I've got a reaction conversation to review with you. I've got a Pick Six recording that we did with Mr. Joe Powell out of Oklahoma yesterday, and I'm going to get to that. We've got kind of three little segments queued up from what Joe and I talked about, and Joe's a good example. He's a member of our V8 dealer groups, and he's a good example of somebody who's an excellent mentor, always happy to share. Has been in the business since '08. He's a Lease Here Pay Here dealer, and you'll hear a lot from him about how he chose to do what he does, and also just kind of update from the work that we're doing. We had our first V8 meeting of January last night, and excellent meeting. We recapped 24 versus 2025, and many of our members had been in long enough to have full array of data from both years, and so we looked at profit, we looked at cash flow. We just try to break down the different elements of their business to get them a feel for what really changed, and some things that didn't change. Certainly some of the examples were, people had much higher charge-off experience in 25 than they did in 24, but they also recovered more repos, right? So they recovered more cash value there, and so the actual impact to cash and even adjusted gross profit was not significant. In fact, some cases, even though charge-offs were up by more than 50%, the adjusted gross profit, because of their volume, was up a little bit. So it's been a weird year, and I think the theme for us and going into our meetings and hope for yours as you start into January here is how do we make 26 better than 25? And so that's always kind of the objective. And I think you'll hear some ideas from Joe here today where he touched on some things that that are going to be helpful, that could really put some money in your pocket like this year if you just kind of clue into what he's suggesting. And I suspect after you hear much of what he shares, folks are going to want to get in there and reach out to Joe and get the details about some of what he talks about. The other things he talked about, bottlenecks. I don't think I brought that particular segment, which, by the way, I've already published the full recording with Joe over on our YouTube channel. So you can hop over there and find that. I'll try to remember to get our YouTube channel listed over there so you can hop in and find that. But bottom line is get in there and make sure you subscribe when you're over there, because that way you'll get the notifications as we post new content. And that includes a podcast, and a lot of these Pick Six recordings are going to be released separately. So you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed over there so you can locate that information. But let's dive into some of the subject matter with Joe. I want to start with he speaks to why he chose to get into the Lease Here Pay Here space. So let's tee that one up first. Kick off, Joe, and you sent me your 6 questions, and I have one that I've thought about that our listeners would enjoy hearing, I'm sure, which is you're in a Lease Here Pay Here model down there and have been for many years. Can you talk to us about what motivated you to do that? Why Lease Here Pay Here for you?
Many people know I come from the agriculture background, so I was in farm equipment for a long time. Then I went over to the franchise world and worked in a Chevrolet and Cadillac dealership. And we all get the magazines, and I kept seeing some magazines based on lease to own. And it kept talking about quicker, easier, and simpler, and that's kind of the way I like to do things. The accounting was easier, the repos were easier, the bankruptcy was easier, and not that it's perfect by any means, but it allowed me an opportunity to to look at the GM leases we were doing at the time to make sure that the customer had some form of payoff, make sure it was good for the customer as well. Because I'm pretty concerned with my customers and my employees, because like Zig Ziglar said many years ago, if all those people are taken care of, I'll probably be taken care of on the end of it as well.
Right.
So we've never changed our model. We started out in Lease Here Pay Here back in May of 2008. That's all we've done. That's all we do today. Obviously, we'll sell a car here and there, but it's the one-off. It's not the norm.
Right.
And then we do buy here, pay here on our residual accounts that come in their final 6 months of payoff. So we just thought it was good for the customer. It was good for us. So we move forward with it.
Yeah, nice. Two other things I know that are good for you that you didn't mention is, one is you avoid the need to have a separate related finance company, and then you also get to spread your sales tax out over the contract. So it keeps you as a dealer from having to pony up that sales tax up front. So that's another big benefit. So yeah, I'd forgotten. I think you shared that with me some time ago about the equipment leasing background. And so that all makes a lot of sense. I think, when I look at it, it's structured the same for the consumer. From the consumer standpoint, they get a car, they have a down payment, they have a payment. And in your case, you're making sure that they have an option to own if they choose to do that. Right. So it's all good. We
always want to show a person how to get to a zero balance and get the title. A lot of people say that you'll never own the car, which is a myth and not fact. We show people, how do you get to a zero balance? How do you take the title home with you?
Good. Nice. Yeah, I love that. All right. So you were able to hear. Apologies, got my my format set up a little bit wrong. So you were able to hear in that Joe's been Lease Here Pay Here since 2008. He's been quite successful down there. He's got his business structured a little bit differently. I don't need to share the particulars about how he does things exactly in terms of his operational structure, but I would just say, Joe seems to have a healthy business. It's chugging along and doing well. He's got multiple locations in Southwest Oklahoma. I don't think I explained that. And, he's carved out a nice niche for himself. And I can share that in the conversation we had on the question about bottlenecks, he did indicate that, they were wrestling with some of the same things that, others talk about, obviously, reconditioning and acquiring enough inventory to keep the front lines full. But he talked about lead management too. So again, one more reason to make sure you find the full conversation with him over on our YouTube channel. And let's step into the next question though. Give me just a second. Sure miss Michelle on this technical stuff, all the buttons and knobs over here. So you guys bear with me. What advice would you give to somebody thinking about getting in it?
My first advice is don't try to be someone you're not. Yeah. You have to have good roots. You've got to have a good foundation. Be you, be honest, be open, be transparent, have integrity, grow slow. You know what I mean? This business can eat cash pretty quick.
Yeah.
Do not outrun your capital. You can sell your way out of business just like you can collect your way out of business.
Right.
Carve your niche. Doesn't matter what the guy across the street's done, the guy next door to you. Stay in your lane. Don't try to be somebody you're not. And do deals for the right reason. I've kind of got a saying. I tell customers a lot. I'll never try to gain a car deal for the wrong reason, and I would rather lose it for the right reason than I had gained it for the wrong reason. Meaning, I'm not going to put somebody in a car that we just absolutely know is not going to work. So have integrity, be you, and most importantly, grow slow.
So, the white hat way coach in me can't let that thing go about integrity. I appreciate what you shared there. And I would ask you to expand just on enough, like, I can appreciate how having integrity helps you feel good about yourself, right? And the way you do business and sleep good at night. Right. Talk to me about how it impacts your business?
Well, I think first and foremost, it has to help your staff. The staff knows that, one of the questions down here is, how do we perceive ourselves in the industry? Your staff always wonders if they want to go work for a buy here, pay here place. They have to wonder if they want to go work for a used car dealer. Right. But at the end of the day, they want to work for somebody that, I've said it before, is open, honest, and transparent in everything we do. So you have to be who you are. You have to carry that forward to your staff. You have to make sure that the processes that they do and what your company stands for is carried forward to the customer. And we will all get a bad review from time to time. And they're all pretty much the same. Either the car broke down and didn't have any kind of service contract. So now then the customer's mad that the dealer's not going to pay for it. The customer was repossessed, so therefore they're upset. Or it's a disgruntled former employee that, to be honest, didn't do their job and didn't make the cut. Right. So let's do the right thing at the right time every time.
Good. I love it. And I got to believe that pays off for you in your vendor relationships and the markets that you do business in, right? I mean, whether it's a parts company or any of those folks around your area that you do business with, if they know they can rely on you to be the same as yesterday, that's worth a lot.
Yeah. I mean, we pay parts on a weekly basis just so those accounts don't get too high. And if I forget or I'm gone for a couple of weeks, they're not calling me. They know they're going to walk in one morning and that account will be at a zero balance. So yeah.
Good.
Hopefully that's earned over the years.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes life a little easier, makes business easier to conduct. And so I applaud you for that. Okay, so you heard a little bit from Joe there on integrity, and obviously from a white hat context, you saw me clue in on that. Like that's what we talk about, and it gets into these intangibles that can be hard to measure, hard to identify the real value as it translates to your business. And Joe's a good example of somebody who lives it, has done that from day one, and obviously it's part of what we teach and recommend, and we think the long game is really the way to go here. And so Joe has made that commitment for himself from day one, and it seems to spill over to his team and his entire community. We'll move into the last one, and be sure and clue in on what Joe talks about here, because he's offering a best idea. The question to him, I think you'll see it on the screen, was what advice would you give? And we wrapped a couple of conversations into one, but check this one out. To recent accomplishments, whatever time period it makes sense for you, but what can you point to that's been a recent achievement or accomplishment you feel good about?
In the last year, met a guy out in San Diego a couple of years ago at the LHPH Summit. Guy by the name of Steve out of the Boston area. And he got me going on these third-party appraisals, invoking third-party appraisals on our total losses. And since I've started that, we are averaging an additional $2,470 on every total loss, because now we are invoking third-party appraisals. We're getting the insurance companies to pay a fair and equitable settlement instead of, they're like a lot of us. They have a low figure, a medium figure, and a high figure. And every time they propose the low figure to us to begin with, and they will fight and try to defend that figure. We have to be better than that to understand that we're not going to accept the low figure. So every time we do not accept that low figure, we gain an additional $2,470. And I think over a year's time, that adds up to be a lot of money. That'll help buy parts.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I hope our people are paying attention on that. A lot of folks going to be reaching out to you, trying to track down that information, because that is a big number. And so that's and it also just kind of points to a frustration in that without that third party in the picture, those insurance companies are essentially looking to take advantage of us, pay below market. And so we've got to know how to act to protect our interests there, and sound like you found a solution. So good for you. Anything else?
No, I agree. Just just like in sales, we always say a customer's looking for a salesperson, or they just keep shopping. If we don't keep demanding that we get a fair and equitable settlement on our accounts, we're not going to get that. We're just going to take what they give us and move on.
Yeah. And it feels like having a third party in the picture would probably add some strength to your position, right? So it kind of feels like that probably adds a layer to it. Oh, that one expectedly. And so let me get that one taken down. So yeah, wow, $2,500, per write-off loss on these total loss and just damaged vehicles. I mean, I think most of us can see, even at a small count on those 3 or 4 of those a year, it's a pretty nice vacation for you and your family. So, if you can, probably track down Joe and we can try to bring that information back here if he wishes to share it. But yeah, that's something that, dealers wrestle with. We hear it, we see it on social media that folks are just, getting beat up by these big insurance companies. They send in a low offer for the value of these cars. And of course, a lot of them have high miles, but you're hearing Joe, who's also got, cars with miles. He's succeeding in getting more per deal. So really good stuff. I think this is important. And one other quick thing I might just share before we wrap up is that one of the things that's different for us going into 2026, we talked about in our Wednesday broadcast that we're being quite intentional. That extends to our coaching, and we're moving to more of a cohort coaching model. And what that really means for clients is that for those who wish to get in the cohort, we'll have a number of dealers going through a similar 12-month process at the same time. And this is going to be really high touch, high value, should be impactful kind of coaching, and really should make a difference in some dealers' organization. And so if you're interested in that, by all means, reach out. You know how to find me. I think my phone number's available here. I'll post it as we wrap up here. But the thing to know is that, we're focused on trying to really make a difference with folks. We as coaches, I've done this now for many years. I've been coaching in some form or fashion since 2000. And I just am trying to get away from a scenario where we engage and we get paid and we show up and we do some things and we help here and there, but we really just don't get a chance to have a real impact and make a difference. And so that's something that at this stage of my career and being intentional in the coaching realm, it's just important to me that we kind of shift to a place where we can know that as we engage, we're able to really, make a difference with folks. So, that's kind of it for today. Appearing for a Pick 6 conversation. We've got about 14 questions on the list now. You can choose from those. Of course, we're flexible. If you've got another topic that you would like to discuss, we're open to that as well. Just reach out if you'd like to schedule a time to be part of a Pick 6 and be part of our podcast. We'd love to hear from dealers, and so hopefully we'll hear from you all soon. Have a great Friday. Enjoy the rest of your day.